Hello and welcome to Inside Rugby. My name is Mark, and in this video I'm going to review the match that was played yesterday between Wales and England at the Principality Stadium in Cardiff. Hey, thanks for joining me on Inside Rugby. My name's Mark, and why don't you hit the subscribe button, stick around. We've got a lot of rugby coming up in the next month or so, all the World Cup games. I'm going to be previewing, reviewing most of them right here on Inside Rugby. So yesterday we saw the opportunity for the first time to see Wales and England in action. England travelled all the way down to Cardiff to play against Wales, and Warren Gatland had put together a young, inexperienced team to take on the English B team, and it was going to be an opportunity for us all rugby fans to see how England are playing at the moment. I think a lot of you expected England to win this game, and it was pretty close if I remember on the community page for my poll, but I think most of you were thinking that England were probably going to be too strong for Wales. Young Jack Morgan in the 7 jersey for Wales got the captaincy from Warren Gatland, and this guy's going to be an absolute cracker young player. He had a fantastic game yesterday, and he appears to be a very good leader as well. So I didn't know what to make too much of this game before it started. I didn't know whether England were going to really turn up and show us all their cards and what they're capable of doing. Obviously Steve Borthwick's in a process at the moment of understanding who he's picking for his main squad, and a lot of these players that were in the team against Wales yesterday were probably on the peripheral of that team selection. So he was giving them an opportunity, like a lot of the coaches have this weekend, to step up and to say, hey, pick me for your World Cup team. Warren Gatland's doing an interesting exercise. He's not going to pick his team for the World Cup until another 3 weeks or so, and he's going to give his players a lot of opportunities in the next warm-up games to show themselves. And I think this is a smart move by Gatland, you know, because it keeps those players on the peripheral really interested in and working hard, but it also keeps those ones that think they're in the team working hard as well. Whereas we're getting a couple of announcements from teams like New Zealand, the Springboks, etc. this week, and some of those players that get picked, who knows, their intensity might go off a little bit before the World Cup starts. So I think it's an interesting strategy that Gatland's using to not pick his team for another few weeks for the Rugby World Cup. What do you think of that one? Do you think it's a smart move, or do you think he merely just wants to see more game time of his players? I was interested before the game started to see how players for England like Kokagasinga were going to inject themselves into the game. An exciting young winger, usually scores a try in every match that he plays. And I was interested to see how Marcus Smith was going to go at first 5 and how he was going to work with Danny Kerr at halfback and making sure that this England team got around the field. Nick Berry was the referee from Australia, and Nick used to be a player. He represented Australia back in the day, and he was giving the chance at the Principality Stadium. The roof was on for this game. The weather wasn't too hot in Cardiff, so we made sure that we had a pitch that was good for running rugby. But unfortunately, that wasn't what we saw in the first half. And I must say, it was a difficult watch for the first 40 minutes of this game. Both teams, understandably so probably, because it was their first hit out, getting to know each other in their own side, but also coming to terms with what the opposition was throwing at them. A number of these players haven't played for a number of weeks, and unlike their Southern Hemisphere counterparts, they were struggling a little bit to get into the game, that was for sure. But I must say, in that first 20 or 30 minutes, I was super unimpressed with England. They looked uncreative, they looked lacking energy and power, and I think Wales, even though they had a young, inexperienced side on the pitch, and they were making enough of their errors alone, I thought, hang on a minute, Wales is still in this match after 30-35 minutes. So it was a pretty dour affair, and after watching some of the other games across the weekend already before this game had started, I said to myself just before halftime, yes, this one is the most boring game so far. And as the TV cameras panned up to Steve Borthwick in the box looking at his team, I was wondering what was going through his head, because this definitely wasn't a performance in the first half that I thought England were going to even put themselves anywhere near getting through the knockout stage of this particular Rugby World Cup in 2023. So it turned out to be a bit of a kick fest in the first 40 minutes of this game. Both teams looking for strategic positioning, and when they did get there, there was a lot of errors. The scrums were untidy from both sides, and the Welsh, inexperienced in their tight three, showed through in the beginning of this game. They had trouble holding on to the England tight three, and there was a lot of ensuing penalties, and you could almost feel Nick Berry's frustration with this game in the first half, because he was asking the teams to get on with the play, to move the speed of the game, and I think he was trying to inject a bit of interest in the game himself. So yeah, I wasn't impressed with the first 40 minutes of this game. I think from a Welsh point of view, Jack Morgan played very well in the first half. As I said, a very interesting prospect in the number 7 jersey. I know that Warren Gatland's got a lot of raps on this young guy, and I think he's going to be around for a long time. Got a little bit of the Sam Warburton feel about him in the way that he plays the game, and also his leadership style seems to be built around that way as well. Davis at halfback was good without being outstanding. Costello at first 5 for the Welsh, dropped a couple of high balls, got himself into bad body position when taking on those high kicks, and you could see his confidence level starting to drop, and there was no surprise that he was later replaced by Dan Beggar coming in for the Welsh. Rhys Zammit had a good game, I thought, showed a lot of pace on the wing for the Welsh, and was very unfortunate not to be given a try where he kicked ahead, and a questionable touchdown that the TMO overruled and disallowed a try for Rhys Zammit. So I thought he played pretty well on the Welsh wing. North in the centres was okay without being outstanding for the Welsh, but in the first half there was nobody really on the pitch that was doing anything that stood out for me, other than probably Ludlam for the English in the flank position. He showed a lot of tenacity, power, took a couple of really good carries in that first half, and I thought, yeah, this is a guy that we need to keep our eyes on in the upcoming Rugby World Cup. So it was 9-6 to England at half time, and more or less a kick fest. So we were looking at hoping this game was going to liven up in the second half. So pretty much like all of you, if you saw the first half, you were probably hoping that both Gatland and Borthwick got into the players at half time, and when they came out of those sheds at the Principality Stadium, we were hoping that we were going to see a better second half, and that's exactly what happened. But it went the way of the Welsh, and probably that was a little bit unexpected. So you've got to remember, the Welsh haven't won a game in their last 3, and Warren Gatland took over this team under a lot of duress and stress that was going on, particularly with the Welsh Rugby Union and how that entity has been managing the game in Wales for the last couple of years. And I think Gatland said, either as a joke or as a serious comment at some stage, if he had known what he found out when he moved into this position, he probably wouldn't have taken it. But he's not one to give up a battle, and he saw some spark in this young team, and he thinks they have a good chance to go forward at this year's Rugby World Cup. So in the second half, Wales came out and they started to put the pressure on England. Their forwards started to play better. They started to secure more possession, and they started running the ball at England, and England looked terrible in defence when the Welsh started putting pressure on them. There was a lot of line breaks on the inside centre. Dan Beggar was doing the job and getting his inside backs away out wide, and we saw more of the Welsh wingers involved in the second half. We were only 8 minutes into the second half when the Welsh halfback Davis took off down the right hand side, made a fantastic break through the English poor defence, I must say, and he ended up setting up a try for Jack Morgan, who went over for his first test try. Conversion was slotted over by Halfpenny, and there we go, we had Wales out in the lead by 13 points to 9. Then we only had to wait another 10 minutes before George North went over for another try for Wales, and that was converted. So we saw Wales then taking a lead of 20 points to 9. Around about the 50-minute mark, both teams emptied their benches, and one thought, okay, this might get some injection to the game, but it just helped Wales maintain their presence over England, and the English players that came on didn't make any significant difference to this game at all. Marcus Smith came off, Henry Slade went on, and one thought that he has the potential maybe to liven up this game for England, but it didn't happen at all. It was a very disappointing game by England, I thought, across the pitch. And if any of these players really thought they were in contention for the English squad, then good luck to them, because I don't really see how Borthwick can pick many of them to go to the Rugby World Cup. Now, I might be being a bit harsh, you might think I'm being a bit harsh, but I was really underwhelmed by this England team after what I'd seen from the Southern Hemisphere players over the last few weeks, the Southern Hemisphere teams, and also watching teams like Ireland and Italy this weekend as well. Even Italy, I think, played better than England showed against this game in Wales. So yes, I've got a very low expectation of England at the moment. I see Japan giving them a hard time in their group, but they'll probably get over top of Japan. And as we know, and I know everybody's going to say in the comments, this wasn't English A team, this was a B team. It was an opportunity for Borthwick to look at these players and make his appropriate selections. Well, on the other hand, I think it was a good game for Warren Gatland. He got Wales winning again. That's always a good thing, to get some momentum in the squad, some positivity. I think there were some good players across the park. Lee Halfpenny played very well, I thought. Dan Beggar was good when he came on in his distribution. Davis was good at halfback, and a number of the forwards around Jack Morgan were very good as well. The English team, I think Stewart at fullback had a pretty good game. He was fairly solid in running the ball back up. Kokiga Singer didn't do his favours any well, I don't think. He had a couple of terrible errors in the game, and it's disappointing really, because I think this guy's a good young winger. He's obviously got a lot of pace, he scores tries, he sniffs out the try line. He just didn't have a good game yesterday, we'll put it down to that one. Ludlam, I thought, played well for England, so he was probably one of their standouts. But listen, they've got a lot of work to do before they play Wales again next weekend at Twickenham, and I'm sure that Steve Borthwick will be playing around with the selection of this English team as we head into next weekend. So let me know what you thought of this game. Did you see it in the first half as one of the most boring games of the competition so far? This was the first, of course, in what they're calling the summer series as we head into the Rugby World Cup. But after watching the Southern Hemisphere teams playing over the last couple of weeks, I thought that both the Welsh and the English team have a lot to improve upon if they're going to get to the Rugby World Cup and really make a difference. As I said, I think Gatland will be pleased. He saw enough from a lot of those players on that team to make some of those pivotal selections, and I think it gives them a lot of confidence going into the game against England at Twickenham next weekend. Let me know in the comments what you thought of the game from both sides. Do you think Wales, and name the players that you thought stood out in this particular game? Also from England, what if there were any players that stood out for you on the English team this weekend? Let me know who they were. And who do you think England were really missing in this game to get some ignition and energy into the game, because it really wasn't happening across the park. Okay, there's my review of the Wales versus England game this weekend. Wales came out winners 20 points to 9, and we wait for them to rekindle their competition again next weekend at Twickenham when England host Wales in that stadium. Okay, that's it for this video. Thanks very much for checking in on us at Inside Rugby. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. I'm going to be here through the warm-up games and all of the World Cup games as well. You can get my views and reviews right here on Inside Rugby. Until next time, stay well, stay safe, and enjoy your rugby, everyone. See you again soon. Bye-bye.